It is Tuesday, rawmike.richards.com, broadcasting live from 234 King Street East, downtown Toronto, from the Pacific Junction Hotel, all glassed in and fancy-like. Is it your first day of school? If it is, you should not be watching this show. Bad babies. Bad kids. You're listening and watching a bad kid. Although, I will say that the first day of school, even now, so as you become older and you reflect, you still can feel it in the air. So what is it, when you're this age, or you've been out of school 10, 20 years, do you still get a feeling for it? And if you do, what is that feeling? And I will say this, Dave, that when I start thinking about first day of school, not so much elementary school, which is always weird. It always... The elementary school, public schools, it's weird because when you're little, you go there in like these lines of children. You don't know what's going on. You don't even know the other kids. You forget you've been out of school for the whole summer, and then all of a sudden, they're telling you to line up. You're lined up. You're standing in lines. You don't know where you're going. It's a very odd feeling, and so therefore, I don't really have a huge association except confusion when it was, 7th grade and under. But high school, I love me some first day of school, Dave. And you know why.
And then it went downhill from there.
Who's the new girl? Who's that? She doesn't know anything about me, right? No. Hey, Cassandra, how are you? Where are you from? Really? You know what? Yeah, I've heard that place. Sure I have. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. Do you like chocolate? It meant school sports. So school sports, and hockey was not a school sport for me, by the way.
Not in our school either until after
they did,
which was really a piss off. The only thing that I would throw at high school, football. So I played football in high school, and football for us started in August. So training camp would start in August, and then a couple weeks later, you'd be first day of school. And it's like, no, I've been here for 3 weeks, and it sucks already.
See, that's the biggest heartbreak. It's the only thing that I would look back and say, what is the one thing that you didn't get to do? I never got the chance to play one down of football. Because when we came back from the States, when I got back from Eugene, Oregon, where I was going to be recruited by one of I guess it's junior high. They saw me run track, and the coach came up. He said, do you want to play football for Sheridan High School? No, we were only there for the 1 year. So there's no way they wouldn't have mattered because we were coming back. And, of course, I was coming back to play hockey no matter what. And I obviously wasn't staying. But I'll tell you what, I loved it so much. I looked at my dad. I'm like, Dad. He's like, you're part of our family. We're not leaving you in Oregon so you can play football. But I would write at least twice a year. Like I would send money. I would have done anything, Dave, to play high school football. And I never got a chance because I could only imagine.
And in the States?
Oh, you're a
Friday
god.
Night Lights.
Well, I got to, the Friday night in Eugene, Oregon, you played at Autzen Stadium where the Ducks play. That was Friday Night Football.
That's pretty cool.
My brother, who was older than me, so I was at James Monroe Junior High. He went to Sheridan, and he was in the marching band. Played the trombone. Okay, weird story about that. Ends up in a National Burger King ad. The Sheridan Band. How weird.
Really?
Yeah. But he goes out there, and my brother, the professor, is what I call him. So here's playing trombone. So here, ladies and gentlemen, the Sheridan High School Marching Band. And they all do this one line, except for one fucking guy. I'm like, oh, Christ. 2 minutes in, he's gone the wrong way. Guess which one
just follow the guy ahead of you.
Just guess which one the Canadian guy is. It's like, oh man, David. It was there where I saw Danny Ainge play football for North Eugene Highlanders. He played football too, by the way. And guess what? Probably would have. He played on both sides of the ball. If you saw him play basketball, so obviously baseball, I mean, the guy was a freak athlete. Mm-hmm. That all high school sports, and that's what I miss about that's what reminds me of the first day of school, that and the new girls. Now, so you weren't your hometown was not St. Boniface. That's not hometown.
No, just in Winnipeg itself. St. Boniface is where I left, kind of thing. St. Boniface is like saying you live in Woodbridge, I live in East York. That's the only thing.
So,
I was in River East, so I played for the Kodiaks, the River East Kodiaks.
St. Boniface, that's where you played junior hockey.
Junior hockey,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah. The Reals.
Russell, what about you? Your first day of school? What about actually?
How was that a couple years ago?
How is it like? No, it's supposed to be today.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
Guess what? Not going.
Good start. Great start.
Yeah. So first day of school and no show.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
no response.
Trust me, you'd rather be doing this anyway. You'd rather be doing this anyway. You're watching rawmike.richards.com on the dedicated YouTube channel, or as we've seen, actually kind of really impressed with how the numbers have been. The reaction to Friday's show was really quite, not that I was surprised when you talk about minor hockey, essentially across Canada, but I know we have listeners south of the border who, when they get involved with, like Pierre Maguire's kid travels, like a lot of these kids,
Yep.
they're playing all over the country. They're playing in Las Vegas. They're playing in Chicago. They're playing in San Diego. They're playing in New York or Boston. And so when we started talking about the cost of it and just minor league or minor hockey in general, Dave, it went nuts. So our good friend Coach Frank, who the reason he's called Coach Frank is because of the coaching background in minor hockey.
Oh, that's what it is?
At an extremely high level. Yes.
Oh, I thought he just liked coaches.
No.
Oh,
No,
okay.
that's a different show.
That's a different show.
And
okay.
we don't do that one. So in about 10 minutes.
I meant it in a good way.
He's our good friend. He's actually in the studio audience. I'm looking across the studio. Hopefully we can pick him out. And we'll bring him in, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first of all, why and how did I think that weather would affect even this show when you see what's happened? I can tell you, Leo Routens was all excited because he was going to come in here because there's a lot of basketball to talk about, including now a new owner of the Houston Rockets. I guess Leslie Alexander decided that he wanted to be even richer. So the Houston billionaire Tillman Fertitti, that's how I'm pronouncing it. But I guarantee you in school, we talked about the first day of school with a name like Tillman.
Yeah, things were rough.
You better be rich. Hey, Fertitti, come here. Ow. I'm telling my dad. Yeah, whatever, Tillman. Can you imagine Tillman Fertitti?
That's tough, man.
Well, he's laughing now because he just bought the Houston Rockets for $2.2 billion. That is a record NBA franchise sales price in a town that could they go through more? So let's start off with a little bit of weather. And we'll start off with last night's game in Hamilton. It's the Labor Day Classic. It's always bizarre. It's always weird. And generally, it favors the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Even when they have no business winning any games. I think they even beat the team the Rocket was on when they had a horrific record. Hamilton, not unlike the Detroit Lions for years. I mean, sometimes that was the only game on Thanksgiving that they won.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. It's all about Labor Day.
That first game, that 12 o'clock game. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Randy Ambrosie, who's the new commissioner of the CFL. So this is during the 2-hour delay, but apparently weather waits for no man, courtesy of, once again, property of the Canadian Football League and courtesy of our friends at TSN.
Is that Michael and Scott were on entirely the same page.
Whoa.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
that maybe just changed things a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry,
okay.
I got you. Don't worry. Just during that.
Once again, that is Randy Ambrosie, and even God's mad at the Tiger Cats because that's what it seemed like. But the people in the beginning, they showed up. Dave, God bless them, and the Ticats get a win. It doesn't matter that it was, they miss what's his name, Harla.
Terrible kicker.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Misses the field goal. They win the game. Yeah. What's his
Former bomber kicker. He was garbage as a bomber too.
Yeah, well,
good riddance. See you later.
I don't think he's kicked well anywhere.
We got the best kicker in the world on the Bombers.
If he wasn't a lefty, we're talking about Medlock.
Yes.
I don't know how he's not kicking in the NFL.
Exactly.
But I think it's got to be the left-footed
It has to be the left hand because, and a lot of people sit there and go, huh? Well, here's why. The guy that's actually holding, it changes the whole dynamic of it. So if you're going to bring in the lefty, you got to change that. And it's weird. It's almost like in Major League Baseball, you will seldom get a guy that catches with his inside arm, which is his left arm. So you always got that righty kind of thing. So it's weird. It's I don't know. Also catching, you won't get a catcher that catches with his left either, because of circumstances throwing to third. I don't know.
It's just how the bias is on how you play. And bias, I mean, the actual physical challenge of playing that position. So there's weather affecting it, but Houston and what has gone on now. J.J. Watt went out. He wanted $5 million. They're now up to 20. Yep. They're looking for 25 million. The country around, various athletes. There's a bunch of guys who've donated a ton of money, and people are really, the outpouring in Houston is awesome. Now, sometimes I've always wondered, Dave, like we see what it's like when you're underwater, but when the water recedes like it has, what is left? Now, for some people, for their lives, not much. It is probably just gut-wrenching when you go back, and most of the times they always seem to show you neighborhoods where they didn't have much to begin with. So it's like, here's this poor woman, and she didn't have a lot, and now she's got no furniture. What's it like for people with money? Because guess what? The weather doesn't care how rich you are. They're going through your shit anyway. Mm-hmm. And so look, this is from an affluent area of Houston, of which, when there's oil money down there and everything else, there are some wealthy people down there as well. Look at what has happened to their neighborhood.
We see the extent of the damage. Virtually every house here looks like it got flooded, including our clients whose roof I'm standing on now as I check it for damage. Virtually every house in here, large piles of debris. The street is absolutely choked with contractors and volunteers. There's a whole baseball team plus other folks showed up at this house to help them with the cleanup today.
Yeah, see, so that is your all your worldly goods are now on the sides of the road, which has led to the other disgusting problem that I just literally have no stomach for, and that's the looting. Looting, Dave. And so when you think that you've had your life crushed by this weather, which has taken anything you've ever owned, and again, those are possessions that, whether it's, I'm not talking TVs and couches and stuff like that, but photo albums and stuff that grandparents have given, stuff that you would never get back.
Correct.
So that's one thing to be gutted by that, Dave. And then you can imagine there are other people who are looking for the TVs. They're looking for stuff. They're looking for whatever they're going around stealing. And so this is actually, now what's the television station there, Rusty? What is it? It's this
CBSDFW.com.
Okay, so this is where this is from. And he's talking about just what's happening because people, it's Texas folks, guys, started bringing out shotguns. And they said, you loot, we shoot.
Are in the North Hills Estates neighborhood. As you mentioned, this is in spring. The neighbors out here say it is an absolute shame that the looters have targeted them, looking to rip them off and re-victimize them. That's because this is what the streets look like at night. Take a look at this. It is absolutely dark out here. Yeah, a lot of this stuff might look like piles of trash to some, but these are still belongings that belong to a lot of the neighbors here. Folks who have left their homes abandoned, they're not here tonight to look after their things, but that's okay because a group of armed residents who did stay here say they'll hold the fort down and keep the looters out.
We want to convey a message to our citizens that they're safe, their stuff's safe.
It's muster time for these men who've come together to keep their spring neighborhood safe.
Just make sure we're not out there acting as vigilantes. We don't want to engage. We don't want to be pointing weapons. Make sure you have your weapon. It's for protection for yourself.
Bob Stewart is the man leading the neighborhood patrol.
Anyways, that can just once again we credit that CBS and DFW, I guess, is Dallas-Fort Worth bringing that to us today. But how about that, Dave?
That's unreal.
Now, would you do it? Because I know
as far as being one of the volunteers,
would you be one of the guys that are armed protecting people's stuff?
Yeah,
I would. You and I would both be doing it.
I probably would.
I guarantee you. I guarantee you, because nothing sickens me more than people trying to take advantage of those. Because you don't have a life, that you want to take someone else's in terms of what they have accumulated in their lifetime, because you've done none of that. And if in your attempt to steal from people, you get taken down, I'm sorry, I don't have any sorrow. I don't have feelings for that, Dave. I really don't. I don't. And,
Nope.
But that is just part. Now, here's the other weird thing. So we've seen, again, I know it's not sports, but sometimes there are stories that are so much bigger than sports, it's hard to avoid it. That's in Houston. Here's another clip, and guess where this is from? You'd think Houston, right? Nope. Windsor, Ontario.
Brutal.
Look at the cars floating. The weather has been, that's good. The weather has been the story. And again, most of the time when we talk about sports and weather, it's like, well, there's going to be a lot of rain, or there's going to be snow. It's going to affect a running game. It's going to be cold. What about the pitching? What are the guys, all those kinds of things, in the gaming world. Okay, well, at a night game, is it rain? Is it, what kind of turf is it? This is the kinds of weather. As I said, Leo Routens from TSN and also of the Raptors, I think also on Rogers Sportsnet, couldn't be here today because he's got to run. He just came back from Florida. He's got to go right back to Florida to make sure probably his house down there he has with his wife isn't ripped off right out of its foundation, because Florida's going to get bombed with, I think, is it Irv? Hurricane Irv? It's just one thing after another, Dave, and that is the real world, not so much about who stole a base or who scored a basket.
No, surely it is. It's just weird how so many things are happening at once too. It's almost
Scary.
a pile on. Yeah,
Yep.
It's brutal, and we send out our thoughts and prayers to everybody, in those areas, and September shouldn't be about that. It should be about so many other things, and I hope everybody could get back to normal life living, and I hope it happens soon.
You're listening and watching rawmikeRichards.com. Those that are in the sports stories and headlines here this morning, Giancarlo Stanton hits his 53rd home run. Not only does he do it in style, he also takes out a TV camera at the same time. So once again, property of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media. Here's Giancarlo Stanton hitting number 53 and beating up a television camera.
Stanton drives it to right field. That's deep, and it is gone.
Boink.
Number 53, opposite field.
He's going to get 62.
Continues
Yep,
for
he's going to
Giancarlo.
get.
Well, great approach. He's been working on it over the last few days, and even in this at-bat, fouled the ball off to the right side.
Right
Now,
up.
that ball looks like it hit the camera. I mean, literally hit right off the camera.
He did.
That's a sizable dent. The camera's still functional, though. This is just in. We've been told that the zoom is broken. That is the shot from right field right now.
So there you go. There's the new headline. Giancarlo Stanton does not like cameras.
No, clearly.
He's going to get that 62.
He's going to get 62 for sure. I can't wait. I can't believe he's taken the ball so hard to opposite field too, because though it almost looked like an excuse me swing, and it still launched over the right field wall. And man, this guy is really good. And here's a weird thing: don't be surprised this offseason if he's playing for another team. That's the craziest part of it. He will not be with the Marlins
because
next year.
what else would you do, or why would you go out and watch a Marlins game otherwise? There's really
lots
nothing.
of money committed too that they probably want to get out of, and there's teams that are very interested in this salary.
Other news: the Arizona Diamondbacks
are good.
Like, can they still get in?
Yes,
because if they can, I don't think the Dodgers want to see them anytime soon. So JT Martinez, the final score was 13-0. 13 Cobb against the Dodger team that a lot of us, including myself, thought, well, they're probably going to win the World Series. And they're probably looking at this team. I think it was Ray was on the mound, I believe.
Robbie Ray, yep.
And he was lights out.
Diamondbacks 6.5 game lead in the wild card. They're not going to catch division champion Los Angeles, but they will more than likely host the wild card game. And right now, if it were to end today, it would be the Colorado Rockies. So it's an interdivisional game for the wild card. The Brewers are a 1.5 games back. St. Louis not out of it yet, but 3 games out. It's getting kind of close. But the Diamondbacks, big lead. Great pitching staff and a team that might have the worst uniforms in sport.
Yeah, they're
Just gonna
bad.
say.
They're bad.
Yeah.
They're bad. What was good, JT Martinez, as he becomes the 18th player in Major League Baseball history to accomplish that feat. That's 4 home runs in a game, and the first for the Diamondbacks, courtesy of Major League Baseball, and of course, property of Major League Baseball Advanced Media.
Homer in 4 consecutive at-bats. J.D. Martinez! Is it 4? It's gone! J.D. Martinez homers in 4 consecutive plate appearances at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, not a bad place to do it, and I think the Dodgers are thinking we don't need to see those guys again.
Nope.
On the Dodgers side of things, though, previously, Bellinger, where do we put him, do you think, in terms of his status? Now, to me, it's fantastic. Regular season, I mean, obviously you play 1,000 games in a regular season as a Major League Baseball player. To me, it's all about your money if you're good in October. That's where you need to see it, Dave. So that remains to be seen, but he breaks Piazza's record as a rookie, a Dodger rookie record, hitting, 36? In fact, it's this right here, courtesy of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball Advanced Media.
Bellinger in a deep right field.
It's a great swing, though.
Caesar looking up, and that is long gone. Ball down
Again, that breaks the record of Mike Piazza at 36, but he really does have one of those natural swings. I liken it to those guys, maybe not necessarily Ernie Els, but those that have the easy swing, the mechanics are great, and the ball just jumps off, in this case, a bat, and an outstanding rookie season he's had. Just outstanding.
Yeah, phenomenal. 22 years old out of Scottsdale. This guy is, arguably one of those guys you can kind of pencil down as an all-star for the next 10 years. When you look at the age, when you look at where he plays, he's going to get a lot of the benefit of the doubts because, just like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge has a slow second half. He's still the front runner to be Rookie of the Year in that position. But Cody's been awesome for the Dodgers, and this Dodger team, for the most part, looks like the kind of team that's going to be good for a while. So get used to seeing this guy on video game covers and magazine covers, and probably a lot more, considering he looks like the kind of guy you want your company to bring in to do sponsorship with. But man, what a story he's been this year.
Everyone's a brand. That's the way it works.
It really is.
As I mentioned on Friday, we got so much response to minor hockey, and this being the first day of school. This is sort of part of that ritual, Dave, that parents go through. You have a daughter. It's her first day of junior kindergarten.
Yeah, tough morning, man.
Yeah, she was fine.
Tough morning. She was great.
She was fine. The father
not
weeping.
so much.
No,
yeah.
that's I get it. And it also is a time where kids for the first time getting on skates, like in our day. So we had Might.
Yep.
What was your youngest age group?
Oh, geez.
I think it was Might for us.
I'm trying to remember.
The half boards you skate, and we only had like the half boards.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember, because I when you sign up and you play at 5 years old, there's something before Pee Wee. I know minor Pee Wee. That's already, you're looking at like
novice. We had novice.
Yeah.
We had novice.
I don't know the names for it, to tell you the honest
I'll
truth.
tell you who will know some of the names. He is legendary. He is Coach Frank. Frank, make your way in as the studio audience can't believe it. They can't believe it. One of the good friends and good supporters, great supporters of ours since Dave and I started back on TSN 1050. We've got to know him quite well.
Actually, he used to watch me when I was on Winnipeg on satellite. Yeah,
I don't think that happened, Dave.
No, Frank was 11. And he was a big fan of Global Winnipeg, so
yeah.
it's been even longer.
Especially the vampire episode.
Huge, yes.
I still want that on the website, Dave. You can't hide it from people.
Might have that on 8-track.
Yeah. Here, pull that in there closer. Now, Frank, in terms of when you talk minor hockey, the youngest one, what do they call the age groups now? Like Adam was another one that we had.
It's actually even younger than that now. So the GTHL, it kind of hits GTHL when you get to minor Adam. Before that is the NYHL. It's more of a select distinction, and what they're called is novice, minor novice, all even down to Mite, Tyke. So it goes all the way down to about 5-6 years old now.
So in terms of rep hockey, how early are kids being distinguished as being elite players?
In the GTHL, you're probably talking about AAA starts at about 8 years old.
Okay.
And that's the minor atom
Right.
piece.
You know what? I don't have a problem with that. If
Yeah.
you're 8 years old and you're a good athlete,
Yeah, go
you
nuts.
You can see it at that point.
Well, the issue is before that, the NYHL I was talking about, there's tiers. So you'll get a mix of the AAA players playing with the maybe house league players. And that's where you start seeing more of that domination at the very young age. That's where the parents start, oh, my son's going,
Yeah,
he's going
that's
places.
the danger, isn't it?
Till you get to the
Yeah.
GTHL, then you have more of that tiered system of the AAA, AA, single A, and so on and so forth.
Now, it's pretty commonplace. I know years ago it wasn't, and I remember the first time I heard about this contract that parents had to sign in terms of their behavior, I guess. What do they call those? Is there an official name for that piece of paper?
It's just more of a, every team has their own set of rules. So we have our own team rules. So, you'll sign off on, must be there an hour before, or you can't show up, 5 minutes before a game, that type of idea. So it's like our code of conduct type of, and it's to the own coach how they want to enforce it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Yeah, but don't they also have something about the parents actually signing?
We do have that also, yeah. So,
So you can't act like a moron in the crowd.
Because parents do.
Yeah, they do. Sure.
Contract or
a
not.
contract doesn't stop that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
No.
But with the growing age of social media now and this whole anonymous posting, there's a couple sites where parents. I thought it was shut down now, but somebody told me it was back up. But there's a blog where people can go and anonymously literally talk about your team.
So bitch about other kids, and that's
Essentially,
disgusting.
yeah.
How
Essentially,
immature
yeah.
is that?
It's like that everywhere.
Yeah.
They got
It
one.
is,
They got
exactly.
one here in Toronto with the media, and people seem to go on there and bitch about
Nerd
this guy
themselves
and
to
that
death.
guy and this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah, they're essentially keyboard warriors. That's what it is.
Right.
And it's the sad thing is that it could be your own parent from your own team. You have
Yep.
no idea.
See, that's what I think is just despicable. You've got a problem.
Yeah.
If you have a problem in a mature fashion, so you're the coach. What age group are you now? What age group are you
So
doing
my
this year?
boys are now minor Bantam, so they would be 13, 14 years old.
Okay, so that's an important year in terms
First year of contact.
Sure it is. Yeah. Sure it is. Yeah. So if I've got a problem, and again, when we start talking about the monies that it takes to play hockey, especially in the GTHL, that's when if little Davey isn't getting ice time, and I'm spending $10,000 a year on this.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
So is that a lot of motivation for parents to go, how come Dave's not seeing more ice time? Is it because of the cost?
Cost doesn't dictate ice. If you want to do it properly, cost doesn't dictate ice. What the cost really goes to is development. You have to kind of know where you're.
But some parents would be pissed if there's been $10,000 and Dave's on the fourth line, hardly getting any ice time.
Well, you know what? To the parents' credit, too, there's got to be communication with the coach. If the coach doesn't say a word to you all year and you kind of want to know where your son stands for, then you pretty much got to make up your own mind. But if there's constant communication, every couple months we see where they are on the development track, you'll know where your son stands. And essentially, don't say a word.
Where are you guys right now? We're sitting there in September, first week of September. When's the season start? And you guys have been in the ice for a while now.
Well, yeah, actually, we just came back from Buffalo last week. I couldn't go, but the other staff took care of it. There was a nice tournament held by the Buffalo Junior Sabres. Former NHLer Craig Rivet actually coaches that team.
Yeah.
His son, they're a great team. So a couple of the more elite teams in the G go down there, play some American teams.
Wow.
Like an exhibition series.
Yeah, I was going to say, so this is even before your season
Oh,
started.
Yeah. So it's about 4 teams from the GTHL, a couple teams from Western New York, a couple teams from, I think 1 or 2 from Chicago, something like that. And just an exhibition series. It's good hockey. And we've just finished training camp, and we're gearing up for what they call early bird tournaments now, kind of where you now play just the GTHL teams and gear up for the season starting next week.
Well, I got to tell you, Coach Frank, it's really difficult to coach in many different levels of whatever the rep sport is. But in this country, when I think of AAA, especially in this part of the world, GTHL is just massive, and we talked about just how many they feed into the NHL. Yeah. There is a lot of pressure, I would think, that goes with not only as a parent understanding where your kid actually is, but why someone like yourself would do that. Because there are a lot of people, like including myself, who go, I could not deal with parents, especially at that 13, 14, telling me probably how to coach, why you're a terrible coach, why they're a better coach. If you're a better coach, how come you're not doing it? I think that's a tough place.
Different people have different motivations for it. I'll give you a quick synopsis on why I did it. In my first year university, I got hurt playing my type of hockey, but I wanted to stay close to the game. So I became a coach. I enjoyed it. I just went with it, kept me close to the game, and I've been doing it for about 12, 13 years now. Some guys who just finished maybe pro hockey in Europe want to stay close to the game. They open up a hockey school here, keep their ties close to the city, and they actually get paid to do it. I don't. I'm a volunteer, so I don't want the emails, the headaches, the phone calls. I just come, do my job. Thank you very much. And, if I see a kid 5-10 years down the road and, hey, Coach Frank, thanks for helping me out, that's why I do it. I've had these same kids since they were 6 and they're now 13. It kind of prepared me maybe how to handle my own children. That's now having a little boy, I know how some of these little kids act as they get older, right? So
now you talk about this group staying together, but we also ventured, Dave, down the road of how many people, because it's a conversation Dave and I had like months ago about the old story of those in a farm, an agricultural kind of area, maybe it's northern Manitoba or Alberta, Ontario, and you heard the story that dad worked at the lumber mill, you skated on a pond, and all of a sudden he ends up being like, one of the top draft picks. And I'm thinking those stories, as we said, they become less and less and less, because unless you're playing in a bigger fishbowl, it's really hard, and I don't hear a lot of those stories anymore. Like even Austin Matthews had to go somewhere significant because he couldn't have played in Arizona forever, or he never would have been seen. You got Switzerland, you've got university hockey. So how many families have moved to play for you in the GTHL?
Okay, so the G is what you call, there's a lot of jersey collectors, as we call them, right? Because the city is so populated with kids that want to play, they'll there's 12 teams in our loop, so a lot of them will play for maybe 5-6 teams before their 10 years over. Now, with the there are boundaries, so it goes as far as Scarborough, and as north as west as Oakville. So within those boundaries, you can play. There are kids now who have now come from, like I mentioned, you 2 or 3 from China have now come here to live with billet parents.
See, that's crazy.
Moving,
China,
that's
China,
unheard of. Yeah.
Florida's a big one too. Actually, it's becoming really popular. The team down there is coached by Brian Rafalski.
Yeah.
His son is actually a very good player. And when we play in these tournaments, these spring-summer tournaments, it'll be like, hey, ever think of coming to Toronto, maybe playing more challenging for you, right? Because these are travel teams. There's not a big population down there where they can make their own league.
Right.
These teams will travel the Southern Belt. They'll come up to play these big tournaments, but they want their own league. So they say, hey, if I can, maybe the parents will say, if I can find a job in Toronto, I'll move my kids up to Toronto, and that's what happens. They join our league.
That's crazy, even to think of, because that was kind of unheard of when we used to play. Back when we were 10, 11, 12 years old, it'd be. I remember. The big thing was, you'd play against an American team maybe once a year. Yeah. You'd get a travel team in coming. Like we played against a Swedish team once.
What we had Sweden. Sweden was ours.
We had an Australian team come in once, which was just totally wacky because the team itself was more interested in the snow on the ground than actually playing the actual game.
Was it like a 14-0 kind of game?
Yeah, even more. Oh, yeah, it was stat night, which was always good.
Those are always good.
Those are great.
And don't be bragging about your shutout on those nights, boys. You probably didn't see a shot.
But nowadays, it's when he's talking about preseason tournaments and other stuff, like, in the course of this hockey season, how many quote unquote tournaments are you guys actually going to be involved in?
During the season, it's about 5. So we have 5 GTHL exceptions, meaning they won't play us on those dates, the games, our regular season games. So we'll play tournaments. We're actually going to South Bend in January to play on the Notre Dame campus.
Wait a minute, South Bend?
South Bend, yes.
It's where Lisa Varga lives.
Yes, it is.
She's gonna.
Who's that?
Yeah. People know. People know.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to Notre Dame. Actually, the University of Notre Dame is putting on a prospect hockey tournament that we'll be joining. So January in Indiana. It's gonna be pretty cool. Mostly local, so we'll do a lot of the GTHL sponsored tournaments.
Yep.
And maybe I think there's one more going on in Buffalo. They're just Western New York, so it's a good hockey hotbed.
I was gonna say when you have Buffalo a drive away, Detroit a drive away, that's where a lot of the pro teams like the Ilitch family itself really got involved with Michigan hockey, and I'm guessing you're probably seeing the start of it, even though they've been there for a couple of years already. The Pagula family is really in depth with kids hockey.
The city as a whole, they're unbelievable what they do for that.
Believe it or not, when we go to Buffalo, they actually let us use the is it the Harbor Center now.
They've changed so many times. I don't even know
whatever it is, but they actually let them use.
And they have a practice facility.
They do
attached to it now.
Gorgeous.
So it's like the money that's invested in that area And when you talk about former NHLers, in the Niagara area itself, Western New York itself, there must be like 500 former NHLers somewhere in that area doing something.
If you played for Buffalo, and this is
You're staying in there.
You stay there.
Which is crazy.
Like the French Connection, most of those guys stayed. Harry Neal has never left that area. And I, it's just because the houses are affordable, and once you're on the other side, you get outside of the city. You're often that, as you said, that Niagara area, the peninsula. It's gorgeous.
Yep.
It's gorgeous. It's very lush, and guys have like these castles, And so the cost of living is so low. Why wouldn't you stay? They love it. They truly do. Coach Frank, thanks so much for joining us here on the program.
Wait, I got him a gift because I found out he was.
You got a gift, did you? What is it?
So as a thank you.
This is amazing. This truly is beautiful.
This is well, I'm not going to say a plaque. I'm going to say a trophy of sort of the last time the Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
The date there is saying 1967. Russell tried wrestling me for it, but I ended up winning it. So this is now in your hands. That's the last time this team has won a Stanley Cup, and hopefully for your sake, there isn't a Stanley Cup here anytime soon because I'll never hear the end of it. But I got a feeling there could be something within the next 5 to 7 years that maybe we'll have to upgrade that.
That is just really amazing. Of course, I'm playing the shit music behind it as well, which I haven't played that in a while.
No,
so
you haven't.
And George Takei can't believe it either. Oh my! Oh yeah, that's everything. Everything just happened right there. Coach Frank, thank you so much. Coach Frank, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, before he goes too, because I know we're going to talk some NFL. Who's your NFL teams in the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl. Can't go against Brady. I'm going to take Brady.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm actually going to take the Giants this year.
That's interesting.
The Giants.
I do got futures on the Giants and futures on the Seahawks in that conference.
That's interesting. Now get the hell off the show. Okay. It's
appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, who's coming up next, Pete? And now Coach Frank's dad. No, your mom will probably get in there too. Last time I saw your mom, she's like, "You take care of yourself. I'm watching you." I go, "What's with all the pressure all of a sudden?" I just came from Nicole's tiramisu. All of a sudden, people are yelling at me. It's an Italian household. Hey, smarten up, you. I didn't do anything. Don't hurt me. Coach Frank, great to have him on the show. Which reminds me, and I sort of tweeted out afterwards, Dave, and you weren't here, so I mean, but doing a show that we actually have, guests that involve and are involved in minor hockey is a great idea because we got so much response. Even Darren Dreger tweeted in because he's been a big part of that world as well.
Huge part of that world.
And we know lots like Joe Bowen. I mean, his boy just actually signed with the Sudbury Wolves. There's a lot of hockey and guys that we could get in touch with. And you know who also was a big and was very active with that and has been since he's been on the show was Kevin Porter.
Okay.
I mean, Kevin Porter, of course, he would know about those kinds of trials and tribulations on a couple of different levels. So I thought maybe if that's what you'd like, because we certainly got a lot of response to it, I think we're going to do that at some point down the road.
I think it's a good idea, and considering that we're getting close to NHL training camps coming in, minor hockey's already, as you can tell, fully underway. But there's a long season ahead. I can't wait for it at all levels.
Talking a little NFL because, of course, that's coming up too. Have I kept that bet of the Jets and the Bills under week number 1? That was 41 when I got it. I don't know if it's changed.
Yeah, I got that too.
I don't know if it's changed, but
that was fantastic.
Who even knows who's playing quarterback for either of the teams? Now, is Tyrod Taylor, like I know he's under the concussion protocol. So I think he probably is going to play, but I don't know 100%.
You know what's weird about it too? It seems that now I'm not trying to be mean about this or anything like that, but it almost seems that NFL concussion protocol, the players seem to recover a hell of a lot faster.
They're amazing. It's incredible what happens.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you get injured on the Friday and it's like, no, you'll be back in practice on Tuesday. It's, really? Are you absolutely sure he's ready to go? Because there always seems to be a yes and a yes and a yes. So don't be surprised if Tyrod Taylor's under center for the Bills on Sunday. I'm
still not expecting any kind of offensive explosion from these two teams.
Well, here's the thing. The Jets actually have a decent defense.
Hey, because we're talking about the Jets, let's
bring out the music.
Shit music. There we go.
Okay, the offense is putrid. We already know that. Josh McCown will start at center. The only kind of features they have going for them, and if you're still on a fantasy draft or looking to draft, Matt Forte and Bilal Powell are the guys that you want to draft. They have no receivers, no quarterback, below average offensive line. Defensively speaking, this team's actually going to be able to stop teams, but for how long? Because it's one of those things where if the defense is on the field for 45 minutes, you're going to get tired eventually. That's why I think this Bills-Jets game goes severely under the number of 41. We'll get to our picks on Friday. I can't wait for that.
Well, that'll be our first official, or like the even though Victor Newman's been making picks, this is the my picks of sexy gold sex picks, the Dave Bastel foreplay.
Yeah,
it's all coming back.
According to ESPN right now, and this was just hours ago, he's still under concussion protocol, remains uncertain for week 1. If that's the case, Nathan Peterman will start at quarterback for the Bills. Peterman. Hey, Peterman.
Yes, Peterman. You know, I have a feeling that the first time the Jets touch the ball, the first time they get a first down, the guys are running on the field, the coach is going to go, punt! No, it's only first down. Punt team! What, we're kicking? Yeah, quick kick. They'll never see it.
No, they won't.
Peterman, you'll be doing the kicking. Oh, that's going to be bad. What is bad? Bad is, well, I don't know if you put the Sebastian Janikowski thing that is bad. I mean, he's played more games for that team, 268 games for that franchise, than any other player in franchise history.
Yep.
And so he wanted to have the contract reworked. If you'd asked me 20 years ago, do you think a kicker would be that important? He was the number one guy. Remember, he was a freak out of SC.
He was a machine.
But he also has the crazy, I'm going to say it because I got Polish friends, that Eastern European, you know that movie, like, what was it, Eastern Promises or whatever? What was that called? With all the guys with the tattoos in the middle of their face, up the neck and stuff like that. I don't know what's going on there, but occasionally does he show up naked?
Probably.
In the middle of a bar, doesn't remember where he is.
Yes.
And then he goes out and kicks a 97-yard field goal.
Roughly.
Like he's a freak.
And he looks like a linebacker, too.
He's huge.
Yeah.
He's a big Polish guy who said, I'm not doing the contract. There's an impasse on the contract. Now, here's the other thing. In talking about teams of significance this year, the Raiders are one of them.
Raiders are big time one of them.
You know, depending on, I would say, the health of what happens in Pittsburgh, right? So that means a Roethlisberger, does he play the whole season? You know, Le'Veon Bell, he hadn't seen a lot of football. Now he's going to play, obviously. They got the contract done. But these are the kinds of guys in Pittsburgh, I would say, Dave, in recent history, have a history of guys either getting injured, getting suspended, or getting arrested, or whatever it happens to be. Pittsburgh has had that issue. If there are any of those issues, and the Raiders just sort of maintain the line, it looks like they're going to go down. I see them, if I'm putting New England 1 in the AFC, then to me it's conceivable it could be Oakland 2.
Oakland 2, exactly. Yeah. And then the debate starts because you look at some of the other conferences or some of the other divisions in the conference. The Steelers are going to be in that mix in, number 2, 3, 4 spot. The Bengals apparently are supposed to do something this year. And then you look at the South Division where the Texans and the Titans are both teams on the rise. You're not sure about the Texans' quarterback situation, but the defense might be the best in football. When you look at Tennessee, they got one of the brightest stars at the quarterback position, Marcus Mariota, a great running attack, some nice receivers, but the defense is suspect. So, you know what? All sorts of questions there on who actually takes the leap. Oakland is not a question, though. The only thing wrong with the Oakland Raiders right now, defensively speaking, is that secondary and whether or not some of their free agent signings, some of their draft picks that they actually selected because they went heavy with the secondary in the first 2 rounds, will they pan out? Will they maintain? Khalil Mack is a fantastic centerpiece to put in that defensive side of things. But after Khalil Mack, there's a lot of question marks on whether or not the Oakland Raiders can stop somebody, because God knows they can score. There's going to be a lot of over games if you're betting on the Oakland Raiders, and it probably starts this week when the Titans and the Raiders will meet. I think that over-under is around 50, 51. I think they go over that number because they're going to be so offensively gifted, and and defensively suspect on both sides.
Khalil Mack coming out of UBuff, coming out of Buffalo, he was so good on a team that, and again, they were one of those teams that bigger programs would invite you to go there to get slaughtered.
Yes.
And there was a game against Ohio State, and it was kind of one of those games where Ohio State didn't get off to a great start. It was, in that world, relatively close in the first half. I believe that Khalil Mack made every tackle on every play. It is hard to be that much of a standout when you're going to go and get smoked by some of these big programs.
Yep.
It's the one year, Dave, that I wanted to get down and watch a UBuff game because Baylor was coming to town.
That's right.
And they actually remember.
That's
I was trying
right.
to figure out.
I do remember
I said,
that.
let's go down. Because normally
Baylor's on the schedule. It's like, what? What are they doing on there?
They got Baylor to come up to their stadium, which I think if it's packed, it holds about 35,000. I don't know if it gets that way often, but it certainly would have for Baylor. And they came up, and of course they crushed them.
Yeah.
But Khalil Mack is a great story. Here's a story that's again under the not great story. Therefore, I'll play the shit music. Here we go. Come on. Why would I be playing this shit music?
Tell me more.
I'm going to talk about Brock Osweiler.
Oh, yes.
The only thing that's not shit about this story is probably his family and his accountant are once again very excited. The dollar figures that he continues to bring, and then he goes to Cleveland, and guess what? Not Cleveland anymore. Remember how excited he was? He goes, this is a great new start for me. I am so excited to be in Cleveland. And then he somehow ends up going back to Denver. He goes, this is one of the greatest days of my life. I know, because you spent an hour in Cleveland. That's why. And now you go back to Denver, and guess what, Dave? For all that money, not a starter.
No, not a starter. And I don't think he ever will be. And if he is a starter somewhere, if it is back in Denver, then something drastically wrong has happened. Because right now, he was brought in because of injuries to Paxton Lynch, who is the backup right now. Trevor Siemian will start for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, he will. He is the starter.
And that's just kind of what happens. But interesting enough, yeah, he, tail between his legs, he went back to a place where a lot of people thought he probably should have stayed because he had something going, but decided to chase the money, which is, I can't sit there and say, no, don't chase money. That's terrible.
Yeah.
He's getting paid, but nonetheless, kind of embarrassing sitting on the sidelines, and probably will be that way for the rest of his career.
I know we're going to cheat here, and because we said we're going to make all these picks, and of course there's a game on Thursday, right? So
yes.
So do we take a look ahead? Here comes some music. This is dramatic, exciting music. It can only mean we're talking about the National Football League, Dave.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Buffalo, the Bulls, because I'm looking at their schedule.
No, we've left that story far behind.
Nuts.
Like lost Marines in a Vietnamese jungle. And now we turn to the autumn winds of Kansas City versus the New England Patriots. -8, a terrible number, but not when you're the New England Patriots.
Yeah, you know what? There's
but we won't go too in depth because we got to tease,
okay.
right?
There's some 8s on the boards. There's some 9s on the boards.
8s are terrible. What an awful number that is.
There's also a 9.5. So what I was told this weekend was, don't be surprised if you're betting Kansas City. Don't be surprised if this number flirts with double digits by game time.
Yeah, I'm not taking that game. I'm not even looking at that game.
So be very careful on this if you are betting Kansas City, because Kansas City plus double-digit points on the road against the team that obviously is like the odds-on favorite to win, but are they going to blow them out week 1? I don't know. It's tight, but nice way to start the NFL schedule. I can't wait. We're a couple sleeps away from it.
We've got the Cards and the Lions. I almost have no interest in watching this game. I got to be honest. The Cards are annoying to me.
Yep.
Every year there's like,
do not travel well, the Arizona Cardinals.
We've got the greatest. And you know what? When you can go on the road and beat like Detroit, which if you're any good, you would.
Should be able to.
Now Stafford's going to walk on and
as a billion-dollar player.
Hey Stafford, what about all that money? Come get your fucking touchdown. You're fucking so fucking rich.
Shut up. Actually, I don't think it's going to sound like that at all, but it might.
I was going to say, does he go back and forth with this fan? But apparently there's a possibility of it. That number's anywhere between 1 and 1.5 favoring the visiting Cardinals. I'm kind of suspect of that just because Detroit doesn't play too bad at home. The Cardinals do not travel well, as I mentioned. Carson Palmer's turning 38 in December. Larry Fitzgerald's 34. David Johnson's a awesome feature back, maybe a first overall fantasy pick on most people's drafts, just because he can catch the ball and run the ball. This can go either way for me. The totals are around 48 points.
Going through the schedule, the Falcons at the Bears, -7, skanky number, but I don't think the Bears. I think they're in trouble already. I don't know.
That will be a double-digit loss for the Bears.
I think if you're going to take the 7, which is an awful football number, hey, it's offshore. Tease it to 6.5 if that makes you feel better, but I think they're going to cover that anyway.
Bingo.
The Ravens and the Bengals. That's kind of an interesting matchup. That could be relatively heated week number 1 for both those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Some concern about Joe Flacco, whether or not he actually plays. If he doesn't play, it's Ryan Mallett. And if Ryan Mallett plays, Cincinnati might have a little bit of a heyday. Cincinnati might be one of those sneaky teams that falls into the wild card spot, but by no means do they sit there and blow out the Ravens in week 1.
The Jags, which people almost quietly are thinking they won't be terrible.
Isn't that funny?
It's a strange conversation where you're like, oh, the Jags. I go, what, you're excited about this team? Nobody's ever excited about anything that has to do with Jacksonville. And yet this year, they think that maybe they'll stop. I mean, look at the total. The Jags and the Texans, the total is 39.5.
Yeah, that's interesting. And your numbers as far as game numbers, Houston is -6. The one thing I'll throw into this is it's in Houston. And everything that happened in Houston,
very emotional now.
It's a very emotional game that these guys will be playing, and I wonder how that helps the Texans in this situation, and if the Jaguars are kind of the lambs coming up for slaughter, because it almost seems that could be it. Look out for Leonard Fournette, who will start at the running back position for the Jaguars. They actually have a guy in there that could be this year's offensive rookie of the year.
Well, here's a little bit of a line in the sand week number 1. This game I would watch. The Raiders at the Titans. There's a lot of feeling about what Tennessee could do this year. Marcus Mariota gets into another year of NFL football. He's got an extra target this year. You know exactly what they've been through with Derek Carr and the Raiders and what is expected. If you're, it's funny. It reminds me of college football when they actually choose to have a game of significance and not a cupcake game, which a lot of schools do.
Absolutely.
This is the NFL. This is not a school. You don't get to pick and choose what you want to do. Raiders, Titans, week number 1. That thing, right now, it's sitting at -1.5 Titans. But I would flip a coin on this one because I think this game is going to be tight.
These two teams met last year in Tennessee with Oakland winning. It's going to be tight for the Raiders to do
and they got to win this one.
Thing.
They have to win it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to duplicate 12 wins from a year before, these are the teams you have to win. I can promise you this. There will be a ton of points scored in this game.
It's 51 right now, by the way, the total.
So look at that number. If you're going to jump on it, I jump on it now because I got a feeling by game time.
I think it's over. I think it goes over.
That could be up to 53, 54
I agree
points.
100%. Steelers and the Browns. Now, as much as you look at it and go, okay, it's Cleveland. When these teams get together, it's within their own division. These games end up being sometimes a little tighter than you think. But it is the Cleveland Browns. It's +9 right now, Steelers and Browns.
Yeah, and that's one of those things.
I just don't like those games because they tend to be a little closer than what exists on paper.
And that's why I'm tempted to go Browns here.
A lot of people will. I can guarantee you that.
Browns were perfect during the exhibition season, which doesn't necessarily mean anything, but Ben Roethlisberger traditionally does not play as well on the road than he does at home. Here's week 1 in Cleveland with a lot of people thinking, okay, I don't think we'll suck as much as we usually do being a Cleveland Brown fan. This is a pretty good test in week 1, and if they could keep it within that 10-point gauge, which I'm sure it's going to get to, I think it would be a win for the Cleveland Browns, and if you're banking the Browns and those kind of points, it'd be a win for you as well.
Because we like winning. Colts and Rams, no Andrew Luck. That's been confirmed.
That is confirmed. Andrew Luck will not start at quarterback. Therefore, I'm really liking the Rams in this situation.
Yeah, could be.
Jared Goff has been one of the better quarterbacks in the preseason. He's had a lot of snaps. He will be the feature guy out there. Todd Gurley has to rebound from a terrible 2016 campaign. I think there's an improvement there. I think the Rams open up with a win at home, but a lot of it is going to have to be with who's not in that quarterback for the Colts, because Andrew Luck is a franchise guy. If you don't have your franchise guy, it makes a big difference in the long run.
It has not been easy for Andrew Luck. I know a lot of people had these huge expectations. He's been called the generational quarterback. He's got to get some protection. That's why he's hurt. It's tough when your guy's running around. Hey, we talked about Derek Carr. Ask David Carr what that's like to be behind a line that doesn't protect you. That was like a fire drill when he first gets into the league, all these expectations in Houston. And sure, David Carr could throw. I mean, so, Fresno guy, it's all the records. But that's why people roll their eyes talking about West Coast college quarterbacks, that doesn't translate in the NFL. Well, I don't think for David Carr, if he'd played for a team that had some protection, who knows how good he could have been.
Bingo.
For the Panthers and the 49ers, you're going to see a Cam Newton offense. And I just put a little caveat, a little star with the Panthers, because I think they're going to try to run plays. I'm not saying more conservative, but I think they need to protect him, because I think if they don't, that whole Dobbing he was at times almost crucified on the field when they didn't throw flags. It's almost like the NFL said, yeah, you want to make a mockery of this? We're not throwing flags. And I really, to a degree, watched what he did. He was getting killed out there. So I think the Panthers might develop an offense that looks a little more quarterback friendly as opposed to him taking the ball and running. I don't think you're going to see that as much this year.
I don't think we're going to see that as much, and a lot of it is going to have to do with Christian McCaffrey that he has in the backfield. He's going to be getting the ball a lot. These rookie running backs that you see throughout the NFL are going to get a lot of time. It isn't one of those things where you dip your dip your toe into the water. No, it's go straight in there.
Is it dabbing or dobbing? I don't even know.
I think it's dabbing. It's dabbing. Eh?
I don't know. So trust me. I would. Roger Staubach never did that.
No, he didn't.
No.
Can
you imagine all of a sudden? Roger, what are you doing?
I look for a bounce back year from Cam Newton in a very tough division, because when you're playing the Bucs, the Saints, and the Falcons, that's tough to even get out of that. That might be the best division in football in my eyes.
There are normally, we looked at the NFL schedule for years, and we'd go through it and go, no, don't care. We did watch it or bet it.
Yeah.
Probably bet it because that's what we do. Not watching. There's a couple of games in week number 1, including Seattle at Green Bay.
This might be the game of the week.
You got to watch that, right? It's
absolutely
-3 Green Bay. I'd be careful with that.
Yeah, don't be surprised if these two teams are the two teams that are battling out for the conference championship when everything's said and done in January. But man, what a way to start on the road for Seattle, +3 on the road. That might be your play there, but Green Bay, Lambeau Field.
Everyone's favorite game show. Watch it or bet it.
Well, it's
kind of the same thing.
This is exactly what we said.
You know what? I'm watching and betting the Sunday nighter between the Giants and the Cowboys.
Off the board right now.
It's off the board right now. Exactly. There's some concerns on some key positions on whether or not some players will be playing or not. Yes, so we're looking at you, Zeke Elliott, because we're still not certain right now. He's scheduled not to, but there's a lot of talk that this arbitration, this appeal, I guess, not arbitration, will be happening in the next couple of days. It is happening in the state of Texas. A judge in the state of Texas is going to rule on this. Sometimes
could be a Cowboy fan.
Sometimes
could be one of Jerry's fishing buddies.
It might be, and it's all about home cooking if you're getting your appeal in the right state. But nonetheless, the Giants won both games against the Cowboys last year. The Cowboys had a pretty nice season outside of playing the Giants, and look who you have week 1. One of the teams that a lot of people say are the best in the conference, in the Giants.
I'll just whip through these last two. The Saints and the Vikings, could be some fireworks for all the wrong reasons.
I like this only because Adrian Peterson is meeting his old team.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. Then you have the Chargers and the Broncos, and I'll be honest, I don't care.
I'm not staying up for this one.
No. Enjoy the game. We won't watch it. Now he's sitting out there. Can they hear us? Because the legendary John Dix. Yes, I think you need to come in. We talk about Dixware. No, we need, because there's a story. There's a story that he has. John, why don't you make your way to the studio? Because now we didn't talk about what happened with our good friend John Dix.
No.
And there's always a story. The beauty about Johnny is that regardless of situation, a story arises. He could be in a McDonald's. There's a story there. He could be parking his car. Story there. He is a stonemason. People think, well, how exciting can that be? Well, when you start fighting with a grinder, I imagine. Johnny, make your way into John Dix, everyone, on the show. Famous of Dix wear and apparently every shirt that I've ever worn. And as people will be able to see in just moments when we go to John, at first he was coming over to watch the Mayweather fight, and he sends a picture and goes, "Geez, I got into a fight with the grinder," and I thought, oh, maybe he was in McDonald's again and was chewing someone else because someone did something bad, and John steps in like a superhero. The grinder actually, in this case, was a real grinder. So what does a grinder do? I don't.
Grinder cuts through brick, block, anything like that, and it's flesh and bone.
You don't want to go head to head with one of those.
No, and lose.
And so you lost that fight.
So I lost that fight.
So
damn grinder.
Just show it to the camera there. You're now again. He's not trying to be Michael Jackson.
No.
This is not.
It's a different look.
Not a fashion statement.
Left hand, not the right hand. So
that's so what is the prognosis? What is
prognosis? It? Tendon's gone off the top of the hand.
Oh, John.
Yeah. So surgery tomorrow. Went in all pre-op and stuff like that, and so.
Where's the surgery being done? Where are you getting that done?
Stouffville Hospital.
Oh,
all the good folks.
All the very good people there.
Yeah, who tend to know you every time I throw your name around.
Yeah, for all the him. Yeah, I remember him in high school. We just talked about the first day of school, high school. Yep. Always bad news.
Yeah, for sure.
And now here's the other thing. So John is a big fan of the show, obviously, and he provides us with the cups and every shirt that I own.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned something about the Carter effect. Did you even have any chance of getting it?
Went on as soon as the tickets went online. Like the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, second, boom, everything gone.
No.
Everything gone. Yep.
Oh. That's what I thought.
Yep, for sure. So I went and tried them all. Like there's 4 dates that were going, and they immediately started coming up on Kijiji. So tickets that
that's
are out there.
shitty.
Yeah, so go from $35 to $135. There's stuff on StubHub.
Yes.
And StubHub is all American dollars.
Sure it is.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So those dicks get in there. They buy them for $35 and then roll over
this guy
$200.
Should be in for sure.
That's right.
It's John Dix.
Yeah, that is true. I gotta be careful how I use that now. What a bunch of dicks. Well, that's his brother Tom, and there's Steve.
Yep. So no, it's all good.
Although, speaking of dicks, though, you did have a brother who didn't. What did he throw at you at your head?
Oh yeah, no, we don't want to get into that. We're all good now.
No, but I think it's fair to say
a little bit of an axe at one time.
An axe.
Yeah. But
that happens.
I can provoke people. Yeah, you wouldn't believe.
I've never wanted to throw an axe.
No, are you kidding? No,
because it's probably great to me.
He'll catch it.
That's right.
He'll catch it and throw it back. John Dix.
For sure. No,
isn't that something? Because you had watched when we had the. Sean Menard, the director of it, in the Carter Effect, John's son Taylor, who played at Binghamton University. You're talking about that age group. He would have been one of those kids that looked up during that
sure.
time.
And I have pictures of Taylor in his Vince Carter shirt and stuff like that.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. That's the thing that got him going. Yeah.
Well, thank you once again for coming in.
Thanks a lot for having me in. Mike.
Well, I didn't. I think you kind of invited yourself once again to the show.
There you go.
But that's what happens when you, quite honestly, bring all the gifts that you do. So we'll sneak out now because this week's very big. Once again, Leo Routens will be with us once the hurricanes stop, and he said he felt bad, but I said, you got to look after that family first, and there's been certainly enough of that. So we look forward to a week. Once again, at the end of the week, we're going to have the Dave Bastel foreplay. Who doesn't enjoy that? The sexy gold pics of gold sex. Yeah, I actually said that right. I actually got that right. We're going to do that. You've already seen legendary mainstays of our group, including Coach Frank and John Dix.
Yep.
And so, and you're going to heal, right? This is all going to work out fine?
Yeah. 3 months.
Better not stop our rye drinking because
no. It's the other hand.
Otherwise, Otherwise,
you usually pour.
Yeah, we're not friends. That's how that works. Have yourself a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.